picture the scenario, right? You have a massive job interview on a Tuesday morning.
Oh, the classic high-stress situation.
Exactly. It's your first big step into the professional workforce. Or maybe you're, transitioning into an entirely new career path. And you want to look the part. You want to feel confident.
Right. You want
Yeah.
the clothes to give you that armor.
Yeah. So you go to a store, you buy a crisp new button-down shirt off the rack, and you put it on. But by the time you get out of your car, walk across the parking lot, and sit in the waiting room, you're just sweating.
It's the absolute worst feeling.
It is. The shirt feels like it's clinging to you. You're suddenly freezing in the air conditioning, and you just feel incredibly uncomfortable. That armor has essentially turned into a total liability.
Yeah, it completely betrays you.
Or consider the opposite scenario. You buy a $30 pair of trousers from a discount rack, and then you also splurge on a $200 pair from like a high-end boutique.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Right. You wear both to the office. 2 years later, those expensive boutique trousers are completely frayed at the pockets, the fabric is pilling, and they just look exhausted. But those $30 discount trousers, they still look exactly the way they did the day you bought them.
It is an incredibly frustrating dynamic, and honestly, it happens to almost everyone who enters a professional environment.
Why is that, though?
Well, we're conditioned to believe that price tags and brand names are direct indicators of performance, right? We just assume the $200 garment will behave predictably better.
And it doesn't, which is exactly why we're looking at the source materials for our deep dive today.
Exactly.
If you're listening to this, you're probably trying to build a reliable wardrobe for the workplace. You want to know how to navigate a clothing store without wasting your money or, setting yourself up for a really uncomfortable 8-hour shift.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal here.
So today, our mission is to look strictly at the absolute microscopic building blocks of your clothes. We are focusing entirely on the DNA of your garments, the fibers.
Right, because if we strip away the marketing, the styling, the fashion trends, what we are left with is the raw material.
Just the science of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How a garment behaves when you spill coffee on it, how it reacts to your body heat, whether it survives the wash. All of that is determined by the physical and chemical properties of its fibers. Buying by brand is largely a gamble, but buying by fiber, that is a science.
I mean, I'm looking at a tag on a shirt right now. It has percentages and a list of words. Some sound like they grew in a field, and some sound like they were manufactured in a lab.
Oh, it's entirely overwhelming for anyone without a textiles background.
Yeah. How do we even begin to organize all of this into something useful for you, the listener?
Well, we can simplify the entire universe of clothing materials by grouping them into 4 distinct families. Every single garment you own falls into one of these 4 categories.
Okay, 4 categories. Let's map them out. What's the first one?
The first family consists of natural animal fibers. On a chemical level, these are entirely protein-based.
Like wool.
Yes, wool sheared from sheep, luxury hairs like cashmere from goats or alpaca, and even silk spun by silkworms. Because they evolved in nature to protect animals from the elements, they are inherently designed to be warm, breathable, and remarkably resilient.
Okay, so that's the animal side. What about the plants?
That's the second family. Natural plant fibers, these are cellulose-based.
Cellulose, that's the structural component of plant cell walls, right?
It is. It's a complex carbohydrate. This family includes cotton from the cotton plant seed cod, linen extracted from the flax plant stalk, and hemp.
And they behave differently than the protein fibers.
Very differently. Cellulose fibers are generally much cooler to wear. They draw heat away from the body, and they have this unique characteristic where they often soften and improve with mechanical wear and washing.
Interesting. So animal fibers are protein, plant fibers are cellulose. But, looking at my own closet, most of my entry-level workwear isn't coming straight from a plant or an animal.
Right. Which brings us to the third and fourth families. The third family is the man-made cellulosic fibers, often called semi-synthetics.
Semi-synthetics, what does that mean?
Well, they're fascinating because they start their life in nature, usually as wood pulp from trees like eucalyptus or bamboo. But the cellulose is extracted and heavily processed with chemical solvents to dissolve it and regenerate it into a soft fiber.
Oh, so things like rayon or modal?
Exactly. Rayon, modal, viscose, lyocell.
Okay, and the fourth family?
The true synthetic fibers. These have zero basis in nature. They are entirely petroleum-based. We are talking about literal plastics.
Wow, like polyester.
Polyester, nylon, acrylic, and elastane, which most people know as spandex or lycra. They completely dominate the affordable professional wear market because they're incredibly cheap to make, strong, and inherently resist wrinkling.
So there's this massive trade-off happening, right? The natural fibers breathe beautifully and interact organically with your body's moisture,
Mhm.
but the synthetics are cheaper and don't wrinkle at the cost of essentially wearing a plastic bag that traps heat.
And modern manufacturing often blends these families, like a cotton polyester blend, to try and average out the benefits and weaknesses of each.
Hold on, though. As someone who is just trying to buy a reliable outfit for a job interview, why do I actually need to know if my shirt is protein-based or cellulose-based? This sounds a bit like a chemistry class.
That's a fair question. You need to know because the underlying chemistry dictates your actual physical comfort during a high-stakes presentation.
How so?
Knowing the family tells you exactly how the garment will behave during an 8-hour shift.
Mm-hmm.
If you know a fiber is highly absorbent but slow to dry, you know not to wear it on a grueling summer commute.
Oh, right.
Or if you know a fiber is thermoplastic and melts at high temperatures, you know exactly what will happen if you leave it in a hot dryer. You're learning this to save yourself money, embarrassment, and discomfort.
That makes total sense. So let's dive into the first family, the animal fibers. Specifically, the ultimate professional material, wool.
Wool is the undisputed king of professional suiting, period.
And we're mostly talking about sheep's fleece, right?
Yes. Primarily fleece from sheep, particularly the merino breed, which produces incredibly fine, soft fibers. But we also see fibers from the Angora goat, which gives us mohair.
Mohair. What's the benefit of that?
It's prized for its slight sheen and incredible resilience in suiting.
But why has wool maintained this status? I mean, we've had thousands of years of textile innovation, laboratories inventing new plastics, yet the highest quality boardroom garments are still made from sheep's fleece. What's the secret?
The secret lies in its microscopic physical structure, specifically a feature called crimp.
Crimp? Okay, what exactly is crimp doing?
Well, if you were to pluck a hair from your head and look at it under a microscope, assuming you have straight hair, it would look like a smooth cylinder. But a wool fiber is not straight. It has a deep, naturally occurring three-dimensional wave running along its entire length.
That's the crimp.
Yes, in very fine wools, like high-grade merino, you can find up to 40 individual crimps per centimeter of fiber.
Whoa. So if I'm picturing this correctly, it's like looking at a microscopic coil, like millions of tiny springs packed tightly together.
That is a perfect visualization, and the architectural implications of those springs are huge. Imagine wearing a pair of wool trousers.
Okay.
You sit down at your desk, the weight of your body presses down, crushing those fibers. Because of the crimp, those microscopic coils compress. They absorb the mechanical stress, but the moment you stand up,
Those coils spring back.
exactly, they physically fight to return to their natural state.
This totally explains the wrinkle resistance. If I sit in a cheap, stiff fabric, it folds, creates a hard crease, and just stays that way.
Right, but wool's natural elasticity is why a high-quality suit can endure a long day of travel and still look incredibly sharp. Furthermore, because these wavy fibers don't lay perfectly flat against each other, they create massive amounts of microscopic space within the yarn itself.
And space means trapped air, right?
Millions of tiny closed air pockets. In the winter, your body heat warms that trapped air, and the wool acts as an incredible insulator, keeping the cold out and the heat in.
But wait, what about the summer?
That's the brilliant part. Despite being a fantastic insulator, wool is highly porous. It can absorb up to 30% of its own weight in moisture vapor before it ever feels damp against your skin.
Meaning it pulls the sweat vapor off your body and releases it into the air.
Exactly. It actively regulates your temperature. It essentially creates its own microclimate around your body.
So a lightweight wool suit is actually perfect for an over-air-conditioned summer office. It's a biological marvel.
It truly is.
Okay, so I go to a menswear or women's wear store and I start looking at the tags on the wool suits. I constantly see these two terms, worsted and woolen. To a layperson, worsted just sounds like an old-fashioned way of spelling woolen. What's the actual difference?
The difference is profound. It dictates the entire look of the garment. It all comes down to how the raw wool fibers are prepared before they are spun into yarn.
Okay, walk me through it.
When you shear a sheep, you get fibers of varying lengths all tangled together. To create worsted wool, the manufacturer runs those fibers through a series of combs. This removes all the short, stubby fibers and aligns all the long fibers perfectly parallel to one another.
Like aggressively brushing your hair until every single strand is perfectly straight.
Exactly. And once those long parallel fibers are tightly spun, the resulting yarn is incredibly smooth, sleek, and dense. It has a hard, clean surface.
So when I picture a sharp professional business suit with a slight natural luster, I'm picturing worsted wool.
You are. It's durable, holds a crease, and has zero fuzziness.
And woolen.
Woolen yarn skips the combing process entirely. The fibers are just detangled but not aligned. So you have long and short fibers facing every conceivable direction. When spun, the yarn is bulky, fuzzy, and lofty.
So a heavy, textured tweed jacket or a soft, fuzzy flannel coat, those are woolen, but the sharp boardroom suit is worsted.
That is exactly the dividing line.
Perfect. Let's talk about the grading system, because this is where I think people waste a massive amount of money. The super numbers.
Oh, yes, the super trap.
Right. You walk into a shop, and the tags proudly declare Super 100s, Super 120s, Super 150s. The prices skyrocket with the number. The obvious consumer logic is that a higher number means a tougher, better suit.
It's very common to assume that.
Yeah, so if I see a Super 150 suit heavily discounted, I should grab it because it'll survive my daily commute, right?
The menswear industry relies heavily on that exact logic, but it is a massive misconception. To understand the trap, you need to know what the super system actually measures.
What does it measure?
Today, it strictly measures the physical diameter of the individual wool fiber in microns, a micron being 1/1,000,000th of a meter.
Okay, so extreme microscopic measurements.
Yes. The higher the super number, the narrower the diameter of the fiber. A Super 100's fiber is about 18.75 microns thick. The Super 150's fiber is much, much thinner.
Why does a thinner fiber matter so much?
Thinner fibers produce a fabric that feels breathtakingly soft. It feels almost like silk. It drapes elegantly. However, thinner fibers are inherently more fragile.
Oh, because they lack physical mass.
Exactly. When you're sitting in an office chair for 8 hours, the fabric is rubbing against the seat. When you commute, your seatbelt creates friction. If you wear a Super 150 suit for your daily grind, those ultrafine fibers cannot withstand the mechanical abrasion.
It's going to wear thin, pill, and blow out at the elbows much faster than a standard suit.
Very quickly, yeah.
It's like buying a Formula One race car and trying to use it for your bumper-to-bumper commute. It's a beautiful machine, but it's the completely wrong tool for the job.
That is a perfect analogy. A Super 150 suit is a specialty garment for a wedding or a major gala. For a true workhorse suit, something you wear multiple times a week, you need a slightly thicker fiber.
What's the sweet spot, then?
Super 110s or Super 120s is the absolute sweet spot for a daily professional wardrobe. It's fine enough to look sophisticated, but robust enough to survive daily office life.
Okay, before we move away from wool entirely, we have to cover the catastrophic laundry mistake. I think everyone has a traumatic memory of this.
Oh no, I know what you're going to say.
Right. You accidentally toss a favorite wool sweater into the hot wash, and then it goes into the tumble dryer. When you pull it out, it's stiff, thick, and looks like it belongs to a toddler. What actually happens in that machine?
The technical term is felting, and to understand it, we look back through our microscope. The surface of a wool fiber is not smooth. It's covered in microscopic scales that overlap each other, very much like shingles on a roof.
Okay, overlapping scales.
When wool is exposed to 3 specific triggers, heat, moisture, and mechanical agitation, those scales react. The heat and water cause the fiber to swell, and the scales actually flare open and stand up.
Oh, wow.
Now imagine thousands of these fibers with their scales flared open, being violently tossed and rubbed against each other in a spinning washing machine drum.
The agitation forces them together.
Yes. And those flared scales act like tiny hooks, like Velcro. As they rub together, the scales interlock and snag. Because of the way they overlap, they can slide closer together, but they cannot slide apart.
They're locked into place.
Exactly. As the tumbling continues, the fibers pull tighter and tighter, permanently compressing the fabric. The air pockets are destroyed, the crimp is locked down, and you get a shrunken, dense piece of felt.
And there's no amount of pulling that will undo that, right? The structural damage is permanent.
It is entirely irreversible, which is why you always wash wool in cold water with minimal agitation and let it flatten and dry. You manage the environment so the scales stay closed.
That makes so much sense. Well, wool is unparalleled for suiting, but it has limits. Nobody wears a wool t-shirt as an undershirt. When we move to the everyday basics, the chinos, the undershirts, we leave the animal world and enter the plant world. We have to talk about cotton.
Yes, the absolute workhorse of the global wardrobe. Cotton is a cellulose fiber harvested from the protective seed pod of the cotton plant.
And it behaves differently than wool.
Very differently. Where wool retains heat, cotton is highly conductive. It pulls heat away from the body, making it feel inherently cool. It's also highly absorbent.
But just as wool has its secret indicator of quality with the super numbers, cotton has its own golden rule, right? Staple length.
Staple length is the most critical metric for cotton quality. The term staple simply refers to the physical length of the individual cotton fiber before it's twisted into yarn.
How long are we talking?
Depending on the species, these fibers can be very short, maybe half an inch long, or they can be quite long, reaching up to 2.5 inches.
Why does an extra inch of length matter so much when you're just making a shirt?
It fundamentally changes the architecture of the yarn. To make yarn, spinnerets twist these raw fibers together tightly. If you're using short staple cotton, you have to twist thousands of tiny half-inch fibers together to make a single foot of yarn.
I see. It's like trying to make a sturdy rope out of short pieces of macaroni. You can twist them together, but everywhere one piece of macaroni ends, there's a structural break. The rope is going to be bumpy and prone to breaking.
That is the exact microscopic reality of short staple cotton. Every time a short fiber ends, a microscopic tip pokes out of the side of the yarn. These exposed ends create a rough texture, and they are vulnerable points of friction.
So when you wash it...
Right, when it agitates in the wash, those fiber ends rub together, tangle up, and snap off. They ball up into tiny fuzz balls on the surface. This is what we call pilling.
Which ruins a cheap t-shirt after just a few washes. So what's the alternative?
Long staple or extra long staple cotton. Strains like Egyptian cotton or Pima cotton produce significantly longer fibers. Going back to your analogy, it's like twisting long pieces of spaghetti together instead of macaroni.
They overlap so much more.
Exactly. There are drastically fewer fiber ends poking out. The thread is exceptionally smooth, incredibly strong, and highly resistant to pilling.
So when I see 100% Pima cotton on a tag, that's not just a marketing buzzword. It's a biological indicator that the garment will actually survive daily wear.
It is a marker of genuine structural quality. And beyond that, high-end professional cotton often undergoes a chemical finishing process called mercerization.
Mercerization. I've seen that term on dress shirts. What does it actually do?
It's a brilliant piece of textile chemistry. If you look at a raw cotton fiber under a microscope, it looks like a flat, collapsed, twisted ribbon.
Okay. Flat and twisted.
Mercerization treats that yarn with a strong caustic alkaline solution while under high tension. The chemical bath forces the flat, twisted ribbon to rapidly absorb the liquid, swell up, and permanently untwist into a perfectly smooth, round cylinder.
Wow. And structurally changing it from a flat ribbon to a round cylinder changes how it interacts with light, right?
Yeah.
A smooth, round cylinder acts like a tiny mirror.
Exactly. It reflects light evenly, which gives mercerized cotton a distinct, beautiful, silk-like sheen. But it also increases the fiber's tensile strength and its ability to hold chemical dyes. A mercerized shirt will have a richer color that resists fading far longer.
So long staple mercerized cotton is the ultimate professional dress shirt. But we do have to mention a severe warning about cotton from the fieldwork sources. It can be dangerous in cold weather, right?
It is a critical safety consideration. Cotton is hydrophilic. It loves water. But unlike wool, which retains its insulating air pockets when damp, cotton's structure completely collapses when wet.
The water fills all the microscopic spaces.
Yes, and water is an incredible conductor of heat. If you wear a cotton base layer under a winter coat and you start to sweat, the cotton absorbs the sweat and holds directly against your skin. It rapidly strips you of your core body temperature.
That's where the survivalist rule cotton kills comes from. It loses all insulation when wet.
Precisely. Cotton is phenomenal for an air-conditioned office, but terrible for cold weather outerwear.
Okay, so cotton is a reliable workhorse, but eventually friction wears it out. What if there was a plant fiber that actually rewarded you for wearing and washing it?
We are talking about linen. Understanding linen requires a profound shift in how we view the life cycle of a garment. It introduces the improves with age philosophy.
I am fascinated by linen. Where does it come from?
Linen is also a cellulose fiber, but its origin is entirely different from cotton. Linen is a bast fiber extracted from the inner bark of the flax plant stalk. These fibers serve as the structural skeleton of the plant.
Oh, holding it upright against the wind.
Exactly. Because they evolved for structural support, bast fibers are incredibly long and immensely strong, up to 3 times stronger than cotton. It also pulls heat away from the body incredibly fast, feeling cool to the touch.
But let's look at this improves with age concept, because cheap clothes look their absolute best on the day you buy them and only degrade from there.
Right.
If I buy a brand new linen shirt, it often feels crisp, almost stiff.
That stiffness is due to the rigid structure of the thick fibers. But every single time you wear that shirt, The mechanical friction breaks the fibers in slightly. Every wash microscopically degrades the outer nodes of the fiber, acting as a polishing agent.
I think of it like breaking in a stiff pair of raw denim jeans or seasoning a cast iron pan. A new cast iron pan is rough and sticky, but every time you cook with it, it gets smoother. The use doesn't destroy it. The use finishes the manufacturing process.
That is perfectly stated. Linen seasons. A high-quality linen suit becomes softer and more supple the older it gets. Good linen can genuinely become a multi-generational heirloom.
But there is a massive hurdle with linen for the workplace. We talked about wool bouncing back from wrinkles. Linen has practically zero elasticity.
It has none. The fibers are rigid. When you bend them, they crease.
Right. If I'm trying to look professional, why would I want a fabric that permanently wrinkles the second I sit in my car?
It requires a paradigm shift. In high-end style, the linen wrinkle is considered a feature, not a bug. It signals an effortless, lived-in elegance.
So the wrinkles actually prove you're wearing premium natural fibers.
Exactly. It's the signature look of hot weather professional style. It says you are confident enough not to obsess over a perfect crease.
You embrace the wrinkle. I love that. And speaking of embracing imperfections, what about slubs?
Ah, slubs. If you look closely at linen, you'll see small, soft, irregular lumps along the yarn. These are slubs. The best fibers of flax are uneven in thickness, so they don't form perfectly cylindrical yarn.
Once upon a time, those were seen as defects, right?
Yes, during the Industrial Revolution, manufacturers tried to cull them out. But today, the paradigm has reversed. Slubs are prized as visual proof of natural, high-quality linen.
Okay, so linen shows that plant fibers can be remarkably tough. But the prize for the absolute strongest natural fiber goes back to the animal kingdom. A material that looks delicate, but is incredibly mighty. Silk.
Silk is a marvel. It's a protein fiber, but it's extruded by insects, specifically the caterpillar of the domesticated silk moth.
It literally spins its own protective casing, right? The cocoon.
Yes. The caterpillar extrudes a liquid protein, and the moment it hits the air, it solidifies into a continuous filament.
And what's it made of chemically?
It consists of two proteins: fibroin, which is the core structural filament, and sericin, a sticky glue that cements the cocoon together.
So how do we get the soft fabric?
The cocoons are placed in boiling water to melt the sticky sericin glue, leaving the structural fibroin intact. Then workers unravel the microscopic filament and spin it into yarn.
Silk's most defining characteristic is its shimmer. Does it get that from being round like mercerized cotton?
No, the physics of silk's luster is a marvel of natural geometry. Under an electron microscope, a silk fibroin fiber is not round or flat. It's shaped like a triangular prism.
A triangular prism. So it acts like a tiny glass prism refracting light.
Exactly. When light strikes it, the prism shape bends and scatters the light at multiple angles, creating that deep, unmistakable shimmer.
That is incredible. But the strength pound for pound, it's one of the strongest natural fibers on Earth. Scientists even study it for medical biomaterials.
They do. Its tensile strength is immense because the protein chains pack incredibly tightly together.
But here's the catch, the paradox. If it's stronger than steel wire of the same thickness, why do silk garments feel so fragile? Why do they always require dry cleaning?
Because every supermaterial has a vulnerability. For silk, it's water. The densely packed molecules are held together by hydrogen bonds. But when silk gets wet, the water molecules physically disrupt those bonds.
Oh, wow. So the water breaks the internal connections.
Yes, the moment silk gets wet, it instantly loses up to 20% of its tensile strength.
So if I'm sweating heavily in a silk blouse, the fabric physically becomes weaker in that exact moment?
It does. And if you rub that weakened, wet fabric, the microscopic fibers will snap, permanently destroying the prism-like surface. It will look dull or chalky forever. It demands respect and gentle care.
That perfectly explains the dry clean only tag. Real quick, how do we measure silk quality? Wool has super numbers, cotton has staple length.
Silk has MOM, M-O-M-M-E. It measures the weight and density of the silk. The higher the MOM number, the denser and more durable the fabric.
Got it. Okay, so we've looked at nature's finest, but if you look at the tags in most affordable professional wear today, you won't see wool, cotton, linen, or silk.
No, you will see words that end in ester or sound like plants but aren't. We have to talk about the synthetics.
Let's start with true synthetics: polyester, nylon, acrylic, elastane.
These are petroleum-based plastics, synthesized, melted down, and extruded into filaments.
They're incredibly cheap, highly durable, and resist wrinkles brilliantly.
That is the trade-off. They are a convenience miracle, but they are completely hydrophobic. They violently repel water.
So they don't breathe well.
They cannot breathe. You're wrapping yourself in plastic,
Yeah.
trapping your body heat and sweat.
And they trap odor too, right?
Yes, while they hate water, they are oleophilic. They attract and lock onto body oils and bacteria. Detergents have a hard time breaking that chemical bond, so the odor lingers.
Not to mention elastane, which you only need a tiny percentage of for stretch. And the fact that all these plastics shed microplastics in the wash.
Microplastics that inevitably end up in our oceans.
It's a huge issue, which brings up a very common modern scenario. I see bamboo shirts everywhere now. They are incredibly soft, and the marketing says they are an eco-friendly, natural plant fiber. That's a good alternative to plastic, right?
This is the great bamboo deception. I have to deliver the hard truth here. Most bamboo fabric on the market has zero bamboo characteristics left.
Wait, really? What is it then?
It is heavily pulped bamboo grass that has been chemically melted down to create viscose rayon,
How do they melt it down?
using highly toxic chemicals, specifically a volatile neurotoxin called carbon disulfide.
Carbon disulfide, that sounds incredibly dangerous.
The health cost is devastating. In factories with lax safety standards, workers exposed to carbon disulfide suffer horrific neurological damage, heart attacks, severe liver damage, psychosis, and permanent blindness.
That is horrifying. The marketing makes it sound so natural, but the human cost is catastrophic.
It became such a pervasive lie that the U.S. Federal Trade Commission literally had to step in.
Oh.
They fined companies for false advertising and forced them to label these garments accurately as rayon made from bamboo.
So you have to read the tiny tag, not the giant green sign. But is there a genuine, cleaner alternative for that soft drape?
Yes, the smart, values-aligned choice is lyocell, often known by the brand name Tencel.
Lyocell, how is it different?
It's also made from wood pulp, but it uses a closed-loop system. The solvent used, NMMO, is non-toxic, and 99% of it is captured, recycled, and reused. You get the incredible softness and beautiful drape of rayon without the devastating human and environmental cost.
That is so empowering to know. A clothing tag is no longer a list of confusing words. It's a window into how the garment was made and how it will treat you.
Exactly. Understanding these 4 fiber families allows you to dress smarter, stay comfortable in a high-pressure job environment, and spend your hard-earned money on clothes that actually last and improve with age.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the DNA of clothing, but understanding the raw fiber is only the first half of the equation, right?
Yes, a pile of yarn doesn't magically turn into a shirt.
So in our next deep dive, we're going to shift focus from the fibers themselves to how they are woven together and stitched into an actual garment. We'll be looking at weaves, knits, and construction.
It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to leave the listener with a final reflection to mull over.
What's that?
Think about the clothes currently sitting in your closet right now. When they eventually wear out and you throw them away, what happens to them?
Oh, wow.
Will they safely biodegrade back into the soil in a matter of weeks, like a pure linen shirt? Or will they sit in a landfill for centuries, outliving you and your children like a polyester blend?
Next time you look at a clothing tag, realize you aren't just choosing your outfit for the day, you're choosing the legacy of that object for the next 100 years.